The Stack. People, Business, Technology. With Dan Tomaszewski of Everything MSP.
Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here. Welcome to another episode of The Stack, where we focus on people, business, and technology. Today, we're going to tackle a challenging area that many MSPs are faced with, and that's managing Microsoft 365 security effectively across their growing client base. Manually configuring and monitoring security settings tenant by tenant is that recipe for chaos. And it's a time-consuming, inefficient, and frankly, it's not scalable. So today we've got Gavin Garbutt with Augment, and they are a leading provider of M365 management and security solutions. And let's go ahead and bring in Gavin. How you doing today, Gavin?
Dan, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here, and it's such a critical topic because, as we know, managing M365 in the world of MSPs can be challenging. Those modern MSPs are, turning to new approaches, leveraging platforms like Augment that are designed specifically for security management. And as we know, and we'll jump into today, the platforms empower the MSPs to identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, and report security incidences across all of their clients, aligning with various security frameworks. And, it's critical, and we cannot, we can't overlook it anymore. Correct?
Yeah, I know it's a fascinating topic because, I'm chairman and co-founder of Augment, and before this, I was co-founder and CEO at Enable. So, as you know, at Enable, we invented the world's first multi-tenant RMM to help the channel remotely monitor, manage, and secure devices. And the whole principle was helping the service provider go from a chaotic to a reactive to proactive, and then to manage services. And as they evolved up that stack, their productivity and their revenues per technician grew, and their profitabilities grew. Well, this is exactly the same thing that we're doing with Augment around SaaS and M365 security policy and posture management. When the MSPs were taking care of the small business server, and they could lock the server down and make sure the server and the data on the server was protected, that was great. That was easy, right? That was another device to manage. But now that it's, 365 has gone to the cloud, all the customers' data has gone to the cloud, and you have to secure all of those policies and postures and monitor for new threats. And of course, Microsoft is always making changes. So you may set up great policies initially, but they're going to degrade over time. And the bad actors are still going after Microsoft because it is the most used and the most attacked application in the world. So it's really interesting. It was funny because when I sold Enable to SolarWinds back in 2013, we were about to build this SaaS management and M365 security management capability into the platform. And SolarWinds decided not to do it, so that's great. I had my 5-year non-compete, and then after that expired, nobody had built a multi-tenant Microsoft security management platform yet. So my partner, Derek Belair, and I decided let's do it.
No, absolutely. And I think, in the world of an MSP, there are limited resources, there's limited time, and, the MSPs are looking to vendors that can help them just do their job better on a daily basis, keep their clients secure. And we are technologists, and we have to really leverage technology, the tools that are out there, using technology to manage technology, because that's what we do. And so, when you think about, an MSP, as far as how they are working with their clients, why should an MSP help clients proactively, the key word here is proactively, manage that 365 security?
Well, back to the point a second ago, they used to, when it was a small business server, they
Right.
used to lock it down and protect the data. So that was something that they did in the past. And then once it became an application, this was a new wild and woolly thing that they didn't really understand. It wasn't a device anymore.
Right.
And so if you go to any MSP's website, the first thing you're going to see is security. The word
Yep.
security, managed security, cybersecurity protection, it's all over every single MSP's website in the world. So
Yep.
when a small business owner buys a service or buys Microsoft licensing, M365 licensing from an MSP, and he sees their website that says, I monitor and manage 24/7, I deliver cybersecurity services, he thinks or she thinks that that MSP is not only selling them the licenses, but they're helping them protect
Mm,
their corporate data,
right.
because most of their corporate data and all of their employees are accessing the corporate data through Microsoft 365.
Right.
So that's the impression. That's what the small business owner believes, and the MSP wants to do it, but until very recently, they haven't had the tools to do it, unless they go
Yeah.
tenant by tenant by tenant by tenant by tenant manually, chaotic, in the
Yeah.
Microsoft portal. So that's the first reason, is because your customers think that your customers believe you are securing their data today. And
There's a lot of assumptions. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're not proactively monitoring and hardening the environments and making sure that they stay hardened and monitor for new threats and risks, then there's a problem, because the customer
Right.
thinks one thing and you're doing another thing. And your website certainly says that you do cybersecurity and you sold them this Microsoft application.
And I want to, if I could jump in there too, like we've had, various speakers on, especially on the legal side, and and some of we've had some MSPs say, well, I don't have anything in my contract that talks about XYZ as far as what I do to secure them. And Brad Gross, for example, would say, well, let's take a look at your website. Let's take a look at what you say on the website. And what you do say on the website, even though it may not be listed in the contract, it could implicate you and put you in a position in which you are liable, because, like you said, you're listing security on your website. And there's that expectation or assumption by the client that you've got their back. And as we all know, regardless of what it is technology wise, our clients do expect that we have their back. And, you know, the liability that rests on every MSP today, as far as what they're doing to protect every company and all the ramifications, when we think about it, when we start going into the fact that, you know, whomever our client is, how many ever employees they have, so much rests upon us in what we do and the tools that we put in place to ensure that that business is going to be sustainable.
Yep, absolutely. I just did a LinkedIn uh, poll last week that asked MSPs why their non-managed Microsoft customers do not buy their Microsoft managed security service. And
Right.
it was interesting. There was I think it was 187 MSPs voted on the poll, and only 17% said that it was cost. And then another 14% said the customer doesn't care. And the balance, which is the vast majority, said it's because the customer needs to be audited and educated on why they need the security. And
Okay.
I completely agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
It's not that the customer doesn't care, because they don't want to lose their business. This is
Right.
livelihood. They're it's their investment. Their biggest asset is their business. Just like an
Right.
MSP's biggest asset is probably his business or her business. So
Yep.
they want to protect it, but they need to understand, they need to be educated by the MSP why it's important to secure their corporate data in Microsoft, and why it's important to what are the risks that are involved. So, for example, in our platform, other platforms, the first thing that happens is the MSP auto imports all their customers, all their prospects, and they get an audit. And they get two audits, actually. One that shows all the risks involved in the environment, their Microsoft scores, risky sign-ins, MFA status, all of that, all of the critical things that's happening in that customer's environment. And then another one is a report on 100 security policies and postures and the compliance. So looking at, for that exact customer, 100 of their Microsoft security policies and postures, how compliant are they, yellow, red, green, how it aligns with NIST, CIS, SCUBA, what an impact has on Microsoft security score, all that kind of stuff. But to go into a customer with an audit like this and say, look,
Right.
here's all the threats, here's all your bad policies that we need to fix today, it makes a very compelling educational story to go to the customer and say, this is why you need our managed Microsoft security service.
Yeah, and I think too, I think our conversations with the business leaders, whether it be a business owner or business, executive at the client's prospects, really needs to shift. I mean, we talk a lot about this on our calls, that we need to stop talking about ourselves. We need to stop talking about, all the great things that we can do, and we need to shift that conversation to them, right? And because you will never get a C-level, you'll never get a business owner engaged in the conversation if the focus is more on you than it is them, and the risks that are involved in their business. And and two, we can talk hypothetical all day long, but when you have an audit, when you have a report that you can sit down and address where those gaps are, and and we tie that to the big picture of the long-term success and operations of their business, that's where it strikes a chord. We capture their attention, and they become serious about it, and we differentiate ourselves from any other MSP that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm telling you, our partners, like we have over 24,000 SMEs on our platform, and that's growing 145% year over year, because our partners are going in and auditing their customers and their
Yeah.
prospects and showing them how not great their current security environment is and why they need a managed security service for Microsoft. It's
Yeah.
so simple. It's not even funny. It's an audit. You show
Yeah.
them, just like you're saying, what is wrong with their environment? Why is this important? And what we're going to do to fix it. It's not a sales job anymore. This is a solution-oriented presentation with a
Yep.
real audit on the customer's environment, so the customer understands the risk. And if the customer says, oh no, I don't want your managed security service, I don't want you to fix this or protect it, great. You
Yep.
pull out a waiver, Mr. Customer, please sign this waiver so that you understand you're responsible for these things. I'm not responsible. You have these risks. And if you don't want us to fix them, then that's great. Just please sign this piece of paper. And of course, nobody's
Yeah.
ever going to sign that piece of paper.
Right. Yeah, and it also helps you to identify who is a good fit, a good ideal customer. When you take your ICP, who falls in line with what your ICP is and who doesn't, and determining, who is the best client for you, because we need to, be asking as many questions about their organization and how they're a fit for us as, they're figuring out whether we're a fit for them. Because not, we go back to the whole cliche of all revenue is not good revenue. And, and we really just need to find, those clients that, understand it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think too, the other thing that, fortunately, which very much helps us here, is when we take a look at regulatory compliance, we take a look at cyber insurance, and all the parameters. The beauty is, it isn't just us coming to them. It isn't just us that, we're saying, hey, you need to have this in place, you need to have that in place. When they just got done having a conversation with their insurance agent, and their insurance agent is walking through, the various coverages and such, or, they just got back from a conference, maybe they're a financial planner, and they just got back from a conference, and they're starting to hear from those, trade associations as far as, what they should be looking for. When we come in to have that conversation, then, it connects in a different way, but also it's kind of the good cop, bad cop. It takes a little bit of heat off of us, that it's not us just trying to sell them something, that it's truly something that is a requirement and they need to have in their business.
Absolutely. And it's certainly a tailwind. As you say, cybersecurity insurance now requires a bunch of things like, outside of Microsoft, it requires a SaaS audit. You need to know exactly what applications are being used by which employees, and are they approved or not approved. So, that's another thing our platform does. And that's important in the US, Canada, Europe, all over the world. But it's also important just from the point of view of the business understanding who's using what applications, because the whole concept of shadow IT, duplicate applications, unused licenses, malicious activity happening from within the organization is all very real. And it's just another area of SaaS management and security that I really believe. Like, we look at the evolution of managed services. It started at the device level. Well, it started at the store level back in the 80s, and then it became a IT service provider, and then it became a managed service provider. Now it's becoming managed security service provider, and in the future it's going to be a managed application service provider, or I'm just going to say a managed IT service provider. And IT applications are a bigger part of IT today than devices and networks are. And it's more than 50% of the spend of the SMB is on applications, and Microsoft being a big part of that. So there's this big evolution happening in the channel. And, my view is that M365 is the first and most important application for the channel to get their managed services and managed security services around, but that will extend over time also.
And also too, you mentioned, SBS, small business server, earlier, and, you had, this, this tool in place, this physical server. And we're living in a world where many organizations are becoming serverless, and they're relying upon Microsoft 365 becoming the equivalent of what their server would do. I mean, of course, we've got Entra ID when it comes to that Active Directory management. We've got a lot of organizations that are their data is being stored in Teams and SharePoint, and so we're going from that on-prem to being completely serverless, and it doesn't eliminate or remove all that security management. I mean, you're just shifting it from on-prem to the to the cloud, right?
It quadruples it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so now, now if somebody is going to set up an environment, a new customer, and they're going to set up all the security policies and postures, and they've got to go into Microsoft and do that manually, that could take them 8 hours to do it manually.
Yep.
Where with a platform like ours, it's all standardized and automated and templated, and to set up a new customer can take 15 minutes.
Mm.
So you can charge the customer the same. It's a
Right.
service, right? You're not
Yeah.
charging them by the hour, you're charging them by the service. That's
Yeah.
what
The
managed
value that you're providing.
services is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so all of a sudden your profitability on that onboarding of the customer is huge. And the same thing with doing Microsoft security hardening projects. So you go in, you do the audit, you show them all these policies that are broken. We need to do a hardening project. It's going to cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And
Yep.
normally it would have taken days to do that. Now they can do it in 15 minutes and they can still charge the same amount. So this is again, we're going from reactive to proactive to managed. And in managed, we have technologies that standardize and automate how we deliver the services. And all of a sudden, our technicians can literally go from managing 100 users up to 600, 800. We have partners that manage 900 Microsoft users per technician, and their profitability
Wow.
is through the roof.
Wow.
Because they've standardized and they've automated the services. So that's what excites me. Honestly, that's the same thing in the Enable days.
Yeah.
When I helped a service provider go from a 3% EBITDA business to a 25, 30, 35% EBITDA business, that excited me. It excites them also.
Yeah. 100%.
We're going back to the same thing, right? It's, how do I get my major expense line item, which is HR? How do I get those people producing the maximum revenue per technician? And then how do I standardize and automate those services and deliver maximum protection for my customer? Like, it's a win-win-win-win-win for the MSP, for the technicians. They're not doing any of those manual tasks anymore. It's all standardized and automated. So they're saving so much time that they can go and do project business and generate real revenues. And they can charge way more, or they charge the same amount, but do it in a fraction of the time. Right. And now the customer, their security policies and postures are hard. They've got real-time monitoring, real-time remediation, and they've got monthly automated reporting going out to them, showing them everything the MSP's done. That is, and the beauty is it's only going to keep getting better. Like, that's what I'm really excited about is, okay, we've got them up to, we've got partners up to 900 M365 users per technician. How do we get them up to 2,500, then 5,000, then 10,000, right?
Yeah.
As AI gets built more and more into these processes, the scale is just going to continue to grow. And that's my view of the future of managed services. I get excited. Sorry.
No, we get geeked out about this stuff, right? I mean, this is where our passion is. And, and I guess the big question I have for you is, why aren't more MSPs doing it this way right now?
You know what? We launched the platform 2.5 years ago, and it was like the early days of Enable, like using an RMM. An MSP would look at me and say, "I have this screwdriver, and I'm a hero every time I go into the customers with my screwdriver." I'm going, "What? Stop it. No, productivity, profitability, that counts." It took 2.5 years for us to teach the channel to evolve from break fix, time and material to managed services. And still a lot of the channel has still not evolved. But as we introduce this, now we're just getting into the early majority adoption by the channel. So every report you read by Microsoft and everything is that basically 90% of SMBs do not have hardened environments. Do not. That means 90% of the MSPs are not hardening their customers' environments. So this is like the early days of managed services. This is a great opportunity for the smart guys to go out and audit every prospect they can get their hands on and show them how bad a job their current MSP is doing and why they need their managed security services.
Well, it is funny that how you mentioned as far as I think the mindset of an MSP saying, or a technician saying, well, I guess if I'm not doing all this work, I feel like I'm not doing anything, right? When in reality, you can really leverage those tools. And, kind of a totally off the wall analogy. When I was a teenager, I had a lawn care business. I've always been a very entrepreneurial person. And I remember an older lady that I would cut her grass, and I had all the big equipment, the wide mowers, and I would zip in and out of there in 15 minutes, and it would look beautiful. And she would be like, well, wait a minute, you did it too quick. And I'm like, but does it look good? And she's like, well, it looks beautiful. She's like, but I would rather you be here longer, and it's like, I could have done it like 3 times the amount of time, and spent 3 times the amount of time, and it looked horrible, and she probably would have been happier, right? But I think it just goes to that mindset, like you're used to, if I'm not hands-on touching it and doing it, I feel like I'm not providing value. But you are, because you've built those templates, you've done all that, up front, and you're copying and pasting it, you're replicating that, you're using you're using the tools to be more efficient and effective, to be able to help more and more clients. And you're also doing that to ensure that you don't miss a beat. That's why, organizations like McDonald's and Burger King, they can deliver the same service over and over and over, no matter where they are around the world.
Right.
And yeah. So
absolutely. And Dan, to your point, with the end customer wanting to see value, that is really true. So we talked about the audit reports to show the customer what's wrong and what needs to be fixed and why it needs to be fixed. Once you've got the contract, we've got in the platform, you can schedule security summary reports to go to the customer monthly, weekly, whatever, quarterly, whatever you like. But the point is that you can be automatically sending the customer monthly reports that shows all of the security issues that you have protected them against and what you've done. And so, because like the woman who wanted to see you working on her property for as long as possible, the customer's the same way. That's great that you harden the environment, but what are you doing for me now? So being able to provide the customer without having to spend hours going through Microsoft trying to cobble together reports and whatnot, have an automated reporting system that just sends all the customers a summary report. This is everything we've done for you over the last month. Thank you very much. And here are some highlights on things that we think we should look at further with you. Like that's a great story because it's still very true today.
Yeah, exactly.
The customer wants to feel like they're getting value.
Absolutely. And so as we're working to wrap up here, how easy or expensive is it for MSP to deliver managed Microsoft security services?
Well, with the technologies today, it's crazy easy. So our I'll use Augment as an example. Lots of tools, great tools out there, but it's generally speaking about 50 cents per user for the MSP, and they're normally charging for a managed Microsoft security service. They usually do the audit, they charge a hardening project, and then they usually charge $10 per user per month to do the ongoing management. So the gross margins are insanely good, right? You're talking high 90% gross margins on the service for the MSP. And you're giving the customer better security, obviously, as we talked about, but you're dramatically improving the productivity of the technicians and the revenue per technician. So
Right.
it's high gross margin as a service. It's super easy to set up and deploy, and you're helping the customer out most importantly.
Absolutely. And, for any of our audience that want to learn more about Augment, of course, you can go to augment.com, and remember there's 2 T's at the end. And if you are on the everythinmsp.com website, you can search for Augment. We've got additional information. We've got a way for you to be able to reach out to them and schedule. And so when we take a look at, your overall service. Yeah.
And I'll just add, actually, because to your question, we also have a free Microsoft security auditing tool. Like, it's free.
Yes.
Whether you're a partner or not, you can have it, and you can audit unlimited prospects. So this is from us to you for free. Go forth and audit your customers, show them why they need your managed security service, and go to your prospects unlimited and audit everybody you like.
That's awesome. And now you guys also have, a security autopilot for MFA. Could you touch on that briefly?
Yeah. So the security autopilot is, it's super cool. It's advanced standardization, automation of security policies and postures. And that includes MFA as being actually 3 of the 100 security policies and postures, the different types of MFA. And it does complete templating. You can do standardized across all of your customers, from a configuration with real-time monitoring, one-click remediation, auto remediation, and reporting across all of your customers. So if you just want to do MFA, you can do just MFA across all of your customers. And that's even cheaper. That's like 10 cents a user.
Oh, wow.
So you can do MFA management across all of your customers, multi-tenant, one dashboard, audit, configure, monitor, report, like the whole bit. And then if you want to get into the other 100 security policies and postures, great. You can do all of them.
Awesome. Gavin, any parting words as we wrap up?
I think we've said it all. I just really hope that MSPs realize that it is easy and it's completely within every MSP's grasp, whether you're a one-person shop, because we have lots of one-person shop MSPs, and we have 5,000-person shop MSPs around the world that use our platform. So it doesn't matter if you're large, medium, or small, you can easily audit, detect, protect all of your customers. Microsoft security.
That's awesome. And Gavin, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been great to have a conversation with you and talking about a critical area that MSPs need to focus on. And thank you so much. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening to us today. Until next time, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to The Stack.